Hello, everyone. Stocks didn't have a good session overall on Tuesday, but not to, I mean, it wasn't shocking at all to me. I made mention for the past few days or the past couple of days, Friday and Monday, that breadth has been terrible. New lows have been beating new highs, and if it wasn't for Google on Friday, we'd probably already be pulling back across the board. But if we look at the Russell 2000, it was already forecasting this was going to happen as it was actually down on Friday, down on Monday, and it was down again today. So it's actually pulled back about 1.5% over the last three sessions, still above the 200-day moving average. But as you can see, still overall just not doing anything. That's why this index remains under a neutral condition. The S&P 500 also remains under a neutral condition. As you can see, not going anywhere, but overall, it isn't too ugly. After hours, it's a little ugly. I believe the Qs are down 1.2%. Apple was down a lot, but at the same time, GoPro and CMG were down a lot at one point intraday, and they're both green the last time I checked. So they've rallied off the lows. Apple's the big loser. It was down over 7% last time I checked, so that's going to weigh heavily on the market. But overall, today's pullback, pretty orderly. We got a good late day bounce. Final 10 minutes pretty ugly, but volume wasn't above average, so it's kind of hard to, poo-poo too much on this pullback. I mean, we're going up in a V-straight fashion, a straight V-shaped fashion on the NASDAQ, so no shock with the pullback. However, there was one bad trade. First off, pretty lucky that I only have a very tiny position in the stock, 200 shares, which is not even 0.5% of my account capital. Why? Because by the time I got long signals in this stock, I'm already fully invested. Can't put too much money on it, fully on margin in the other account, so I don't even want to budget over there. So in the cash account, it's tiny. And when we got another add signal on the 14th, the stock gapped up on the 15th, not allowing me to add any to my already tiny position. So overall, it was a tiny, position. And I was kind of upset about that. And even following yesterday's intraday reversal, it made me think, man, now just imagine if I would have still had my limit good till cancel, but with not having a lot of money, if something doesn't get filled, new longs get priority over old longs. And so if there's no cash left, these get eliminated. Same with buybacks. If we get buyback signals, if there's new longs and buybacks and there's not enough cash to do one or the other, the priority always goes to new technical formations unless it's a perfect speculator and canceling quality buyback signal. Then it's about a toss-up, and then you split it up. But IDI, if I would have held my limit at 12, I would have, or not 12, it was at 1161. I wanted to move it up to 12, so initially it would have been 1161, so I would have been filled at 1161 on this day. But following the gap up on this day, I lowered my limit to the high of the day, 12. But by this day, I had to take it off because on the 16th, I had enough new, or the 15th basically, I had enough new long signals that I can't do it now. So IDI got completely canceled. Would have been filled on the 16th. Hindsight, boy, it's better to be lucky than good sometimes, and here's why you need to have sell stops. My final cut loss on this position was 10.01. Once it moved below 10.01, I was taken out. When I went to go check my intraday sell stops to see what triggered whenever I woke up this morning, I noticed that IDI was the only one to go off, and I noticed that it went off something at like 998. Not too bad, right? I'm thinking, okay, great, it hit my 10 limit. Can't be that bad. When I looked at it, it was around 8, and I was like, oh, wow, sell stops are awesome. By the end of the day, at one point, it hit 557. So if you don't understand the importance of sell stops before coming into today's session, you now understand the importance of them. IDI, great lesson right there, how important sell stops are. And just to go show, it can happen in a stock in an uptrend or, in, of course, a downtrend. Now, lock, nobody should have been long here following. I mean, there's just no real long signal here. I mean, maybe right here, but it's not that great of a technical pattern to buy. And even if you do that, you're not completely out of it on the 29th. But let's say you don't cut your losses, and now you're really trapped. Well, then comes today, and today it was ugly, even uglier than IDI. So sell stops, you got to have them, you got to use them. Now, I got a couple of end-of-day sell signals also. SPR is giving me a 50% sell signal. I'm moving up my half of one sell stop to below today's low a day, and the other half is going to be below this low, I believe, right here before the signal date. So no matter what, though, 53.95 is at least where you got to get rid of half of SPR. You could also sell it in the morning. It's really up to you, but that's what I'm going to do. So SPR, 50% sell signal. Also, ADPT, closing below the 20-day moving average, not shown on this chart, on above average volume, moving up half my sell stop to 86.57. It wasn't too far away anyway. It was right here at 85.55 the first half. So now it just comes up to here. And I believe my last remaining half is somewhere back here, I think. Like it's all the way back here. I'm not sure where it's at, but it feels like it's at 65.99, the low of this most recent base that it broke out. It hasn't really consolidated since then. It did back here, but that was too close to having a sell stop on the book, so I went ahead and used the last pocket pivot point signal. But following today's session, half the sell stop has to be below today's low of day. And then also speculative stock that's going to be CanSlim quality. This thing is just not acting right, and it's actually looking pretty scary. Following yesterday's fake out breakout big intraday reversal, volume wasn't that heavy, but today's follow through, that price action, just gets more and more confusing. BOP rising, volume lower, but the stock selling off. So what I'm doing now is half my sell stop is going below 666, and then I think whatever I have left is going to be split up below 655 and then 609. But I definitely want to get out of half of this, reduce my size in HLTH. It just doesn't look right. And then also I do have one new long position, UEPS, CanSlim quality stock long position only, not confirmed in any other scan. So I'm already fully invested. The market looks weak, so this is a 1% long signal. It's not even 2% because it's barely a CanSlim quality stock. It's got an EPS rating of 71. But if you, and it's got to be a 70-70 is what I consider CanSlim. 70 EPS, 70 relative strength, and growing earning sales. It can't be going negative, and this one is not going negative. But the low here in April, it's uptrended pretty nicely ever since. It's really consolidating in a tight base here. It's already given one previous pocket pivot point signal, and as it continued on with its base, volume just dried up further and further, and now it's giving back-to-back pocket pivot point signals. Quite a strong move on a day like today, and BOP is increasing from the day before. We don't risk much on the first half of the position if we're wrong, 1832, but the second half I won't know I'm completely wrong till it gets to 1760, and that's another reason to keep it smaller than larger. So just 1% of my account capital, I don't know what that is. It might be like around, I don't know, 200 shares or something like that. But that's all for UEPS. Not confirmed anywhere, but quite a nice chart for such a, kind of a bad session today. So I expect this market to pull back, but all things are not bad. ICUI was our most recent long signal. It worked immediately. And BSTC was our second most recent long signal. And in 2 days, it's up 15%. So despite the overall market, our new longs continue to work, but there's still some negative action out there. So we need to ring it in just a little bit.